When you hear the words compound interest, your mind probably jumps straight to a dusty old math textbook, right? But what if I told you it's actually one of the most powerful, invisible forces shaping our entire world? It's this fundamental rule of growth that once you really get it, you'll start seeing it absolutely everywhere.
And that's because this force, it's got a dual personality. It can be your best friend, building incredible wealth from almost nothing. Or it can be your worst enemy, turning a tiny debt into a mountain you can't climb. So understanding this isn't just a good idea, it's essential.
Okay, so let's pull back the curtain and really look at this thing. At its heart, the idea is so simple, but the results, they are anything but. So here's the deal. With simple interest, you earn a little bit on your starting cash. That's it. It's steady, it's linear, and it's slow. Compound interest, though, that's where the magic happens. You earn interest on your first chunk of money, and then you start earning interest on your interest. That's the famous snowball effect. It starts small, but it picks up speed and grows exponentially over time.
Now, every powerful force has a kind of secret code, right? A recipe that makes it all work. For compounding, it's a simple little formula that unlocks all of that explosive growth. Okay, don't get scared off by the math here. You do not need to be a genius to get this. We're not going to sit here and solve equations. We're just going to quickly look at what each piece of this puzzle means, because once you get the ingredients, you'll understand the power. So let's break it down real quick. P is your principal. That's the seed money you start with. R is the rate. That's how fast it's going to grow. But N is for time. And that, my friends, is the real secret ingredient. See how it's the exponent in the formula? That means its power isn't just adding, it's multiplying. Time is, without a doubt, the most powerful part of this whole equation. And this brings up a really important point. Compounding isn't just about money in a bank account. This idea of accelerating growth is happening all around us, all the time. Let's look at a couple of real-world examples that have nothing to do with finance. So picture this. A huge construction project, maybe a new bridge. They start out with a solid crew of 320 people, but the project is getting bigger, so the plan is to grow the workforce by 25% every single year. Now check out what happens. After just 2 years, that crew of 320 has exploded to 500 workers. And here's why. They aren't just adding 25% of the original 320 each year. Nope, they're adding 25% of the new, larger total from the year before. That's compounding, right there in the real world. We can see the exact same principle at work in nature. Let's say there's a project to grow a forest, and the goal is to increase the number of trees by just 5% a year. They start with a pretty healthy 40,000 trees. Now, 5% growth. That sounds pretty small, doesn't it? You probably wouldn't expect much to change. But remember that secret ingredient we talked about? Time? Even with a short period, just 3 years, that small percentage starts to build on itself, over and over. And boom, the results? The forest now has over 46,000 trees. That's an increase of more than 6,300 trees. Why? Because each year's 5% was calculated on a slightly bigger number than the year before. Even a small rate creates huge results when you let it compound. So we've seen how compounding can build things up, but now let's bring it back home to our own finances, because this is where it can be your best friend or your absolute worst enemy. All right, so let's look at a classic story. Meet Samir. He takes out a loan for 12,500 rupees. The interest rate is 12% a year, compounded. Now, in this case, that compounding power isn't working for him, it's working against him. And just look at how that debt snowballs. After only 3 years, the amount he owes has ballooned to over 17,500 rupees. The interest from year 1 gets added to the loan amount, so in year 2, he's paying interest on a bigger pile of debt. That is the dangerous trap of compounding debt. And get this, compounding can even work in reverse. It's a process called depreciation. Imagine a company buys a new machine for 250,000 rupees. Just like a new car, its value starts dropping the second they own it. In this case, it drops by 10% every year. This timeline really shows the damage. In just 2 years, the machine's value has plummeted by almost 50,000 rupees. And the crazy part is, the loss actually gets faster. The 10% drop in year 2 is calculated on the already lower price from year 1. The value disappears at an accelerating rate. Okay, so we've seen the power, we've seen the formula.
And we've seen the impact, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The final, most important question is, what are we supposed to do with all this information?
You know, this quote just nails it. Compounding isn't good or evil. It's just a neutral force of math. Its effect on your life really boils down to one simple thing. Are you the one earning it, or are you the one paying it?
So let's just boil this all down. First, time is your superpower. The earlier you start saving or investing, the more time that snowball has to grow. Second, consistency is king. Small, regular contributions can grow into an absolute fortune. Third, you've got to be afraid of high-interest debt. It's that same incredible power, but it's aimed right at you. And finally, just remember this isn't only about money. The habits you build, the things you learn, it all compounds over time.
And that's the question I want to leave you with. Now that you see how powerful this is, what's your next move? Whether you're starting an investment, paying down a debt, or building a new skill, that snowball is just sitting there at the top of the hill. It just needs that first push from you. So how are you going to get it started?